The main lodge at Butchwhack, Alaska Camp, constructed in 2010, is very much in need of some form of siding. I arrived at 2011, the summer, with several people from Finger Lakes Community College. Upon retirement, came up to help Eric Salatan build guest cabins for his guiding and outfitting business. What a wonderful way to spend a summer this was. In the end, we did complete the sauna and 4 guest cabins. These located in the town of Wiseman, 270 miles north of Fairbanks, a mining community in the early 1900s consisting of largely log cabins, most of which are in a pretty sad state of repair at the moment. Some have been restored and are used today. There are 15 year-round residents and a good number of summer folk that come up to exist in this absolutely idyllic location. My task this particular summer was to serve as cook and assistant, but as well build a little structure for myself. In the process, I offered to produce shingles for the siding purposes for the buildings that would be constructed this summer and for my own building. The white spruce forest was actually leveled. In fact, there were no trees in the early 1900s. The cabins had to be moved if they wanted to be reconstructed. Using the white spruce that had grown up on Eric Salatan's land was a very appropriate utilization of the resource. The shingle operation itself involves felling the trees, trimming, and sectioning them into log lengths that are appropriate for 3 shingle bolts, something I experimented with over the years. 4-inch, 5-inch diameter minimum size, and on up to 12, 14 inches is possible. Creating a crib of logs to serve as a stand for the 3 bolt sections of wood. This makes it possible to operate the chainsaw without bending over and incurring the inevitable back strain from such operation. The shingles are produced by ripping alternate sides off of the initial log, running the saw parallel to the grain. You'll note that the chips, the shavings that come out of this, are the consequence of the long grain orientation. Take off one side, move to the other, and run the saw smoothly, and by eye this is. Takes a little bit of practice to get the cuts lined up and get them parallel, but it certainly can be done. Once the sides of the particular shingle bolt are fashioned, these are removed. And shingle production itself begins. Running the saw, again parallel to the grain. You'll note as we go through this sequence that the saw tends to bog down when the bar is parallel to the grain. In that case, the long chips come out and jam in the clutch housing. If you continue to run the saw parallel to the grain, it actually runs the chips round and round and does not discharge them. In fact, makes very little progress. So keep the bar at about that angle as proper, using the bucking teeth appropriately to give a little leverage to run the saw down through the curve. Now here the saw is jamming up, filled with the long grain and simply going round and round. Clean them out by bringing the bar up. I find this to be a very pleasurable activity. I'm not sure why it is that I enjoy running a chainsaw so much, but I always have, and will continue to do so when opportunity presents itself. The shingles themselves have a thin end of approximately 1/8 of an inch, and the thick end, in this case, it's about an 18.5 inch unit. It should be 3/8 to 1/2 an inch in thickness. You can turn the saw a little bit in the cut to keep things in alignment as they need to be to produce uniform shingles. The shingles themselves, 1/8 of an inch up to 1/2 an inch, actually represent less wood than the 3/8 inch kerf which the saw takes out. You can see the orientation of the shingles here pretty clearly. What to do with the discharge? We actually did cover some muddy areas very nicely with this. It does recycle very rapidly. It'll rot back into the scheme of things and produce nutrients for future tree growth. That crib, the accumulation of shingles, the accumulation of pile. Nice to see progress, to see bolt after bolt come off. Eric Salatan, the owner, is coming down to inspect the runway and make sure that his commercial pilot friend has a clear run to conduct the business of the Bushwhack Alaska outfitting operation. That is Eric's little Super Cub. He is a licensed pilot, is working on his commercial rating, but currently does hire professional pilots to deliver his clients to the appropriate hunting locations. Eric did come to check me out and was kind enough to take the camera and get a different angle of the shingle operation itself. That particular saw, this is slightly more than 4 horsepower engine. Is quite efficient in producing the shingles. It takes probably 20 seconds or so to complete one cut in a 7 to 8 inch diameter log.
It's a beautiful spring day, Marty.
Couldn't be much nicer. The snow forgot what it's all about. It's going to go away.
How's it feel to be up here in the Arctic in May?
Almost as good as it does in the middle of July when the mosquitoes are thick. But maybe as good as it does at 70 below zero when I could be a real chichaco. Or I mean, not a what do you call a real one? A
sourdough.
Sourdough.
You are a sourdough, Marty.
I'm going to be in 3 months. This is not going off.
What's for supper tonight?
Oh, we've got moose, tenderloin, canned corn, salad with artichokes, pecans, walnuts, raisins. Oh my gosh.
What's the occasion?
I do believe brown down. One of the hunters got a big monster brown bear at about the first 6 hours of hunting. He's going home with a big grin on his face and a 7.5 foot grizzly bear.
All right.
Couldn't get much better.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right, signing off.
Got it. And this indeed is the reason for being Bushwhack Alaska Camp, currently under Eric Salatan's very expert and energetic, even charismatic leadership, is producing phenomenal results. His hunters and his guides have done wonderfully well, providing the experience that hunters throughout the United States and other areas are willing to pay for. He does have several commercial pilots that provide the service he needs. He has been very fortunate to extend the runway in Wiseman to his very back door. It certainly is a matter of convenience to be able to bring the bush planes right up within the skipping distance to the various lodgings. Back to the shingle operation again. I've been here probably 2 or 3 weeks at this point. We have utilized a good number of trees in one area of the property and will soon move from here further into Eric's holdings. He's been very fortunate to purchase an additional section of land right contiguous to his initial property. This particular area has timber sufficiently more mature and of absolutely ideal size for shingle production. The white spruce works very nicely. It actually grows really fast too. All of these trees have grown since the mining era. There were none on the hillsides and the flats accessible back in the early 1900s. We fell the trees, remove the limbs, clean them up. In this case, a section has been removed to give some sense of scale. That particular item on the stump is absolutely crucial for comfort in the June-July area season in Alaska. The mosquitoes are pretty thick. This little four-wheeler provided the wherewithal for me to drag the logs out of the forest and onto the shingle site quite handily. Minimum amount of damage and with a significant level of efficiency. The larger logs were far too heavy for me to utilize three at once. I cut them into the shingle bolt sections and then loaded them onto the jig and produced some very, to me, impressive. With this new toy, Eric purchased an MS-660, a nearly 7 horsepower saw. Production rate accelerated in a very satisfying way. Chain technology is crucial. You've got to be able to put a good sharp on a chain and keep it sharp. The right angles, the right depth, and uniform all the way through. A good size shingle bolt is probably 8 inches in diameter. The MS-660 approaches this in an efficient way. Keep the bucking teeth in, run the bar right down. Evolve the technique of taking the slab off the side. The prying the little leverage in there, standing up straight, easy on the back. Trim the slab off the side. This slab is very useful. It dries out within about a week and serves as phenomenal fuel for the sauna, which is, at least at the time we were working here, the only source of warm water for bathing in the facility, soon to be upgraded. The flattened bolt, again as before, but with a much bigger saw. The cutting time for an 8-inch log is about half of that with the smaller saw. And I dedicated probably 2 to 2.5 hours a day to shingle production, and was able to produce enough to finish the structure which we undertook to complete that particular summer. It does help to be left-handed in this operation. In that manner, the saw and your eye are lined up. You are in the line of fire for a kickback, but it does increase the efficiency of carpentry cuts. The big powerful saw, 20-inch bar, and the discharge of chips, I think is a fascinating process. There is more wood, volume of wood in the chip discharge than there is in the residue of shingles. This stuff accumulates in the course of building one bolt in an impressive way. One drawback to the discharge here is that it does have the bar oil, and if you don't use biodegradable oil, it's not the most environmentally friendly, but it does degrade in time. Finishing off the shingles, I think we're up to shingle number 9 on this particular bolt, 8 inches or so in thickness. In full utilization of the log, hate to waste anything if it's not necessary. The final shingle on this will have bark on it, the wane, but with a power handsaw it's possible to zip those right off very quickly and get a good usable shingle out of the particular one that has bark on it still. An impressive bolt, 7 or so inches in thickness, and I believe there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 shingles. Enough to make 10 feet of coverage on one row on a building. And the buildings, in this case, a 36-foot long, 16-foot wide, 12-foot high in the front, 8 in the back. Not only did we put shingles on the new structure, which is to be the lodge and dining hall and kitchen of the Bushwhack Alaska camp, managed to install railing, stairs, and completely shingle the entire building with the production of the summer. I think a very pleasing, a very worthwhile effort. Cited the rest of Eric's camp as well. My big project for the summer was to construct myself a little retirement getaway, something I'll visit again in summer 2014, this coming summer. I will produce shingles to side this entire building and have a wonderful time doing it. Alaska is an absolutely wonderful place to be. I love it so well, I cannot stay away. I want to go back, and I will. And wallow in the ecstasy of the Arctic, Gates of the Arctic National Park beauty.